Hi, it's Glenn here, the acupuncturist and martial arts instructor, and today I want to talk about posture, how we hold ourselves. And in particular, I want to talk about how, if we change our posture, we could potentially change our lives for the better. So let's first think about posture and what we all know. So we can all recognize someone who's just very confident. They hold themselves in a particular way and they just exude confidence. And from our perspective, there's a lot of chi, a lot of energy, biodynamic energy coming off this person. But then if we look at the opposite end of the scale, we look at someone who's very unconfident, and they kind of hold themselves in a particular way, and they're very small, and the energy is coming off them. It's almost non-existent. And then we can look at others who have been wounded, either physically, spiritually, mentally, intellectually, or even all of these things. They basically wear these wounds in their posture. And you can just you see some people, they just look so worn down by things. It just expresses in the way they hold themselves. So just think about your own posture for a minute. So now, with this knowledge, what can we do with it? Because it's obvious, isn't it? Yeah, we all know this, we understand this. But it's a great starting point to understand the link between our interaction between the world that we live in and our physical state. Because our posture basically is quite simply an expression of our interaction with the world that we live in. How we feel about it, how we feel about ourselves, how events can have an effect on us. So let's give you an example. Stress. Everyone understands stress. And a little bit of stress is good, too much, not so good. Well, too much isn't bad, it's just how long it goes on for. So stress causes us to have stress in the body as well. And the way this can work, a really simple example, is I've got lots of patients in here. They come in and they've been stressed for years. And then you find out that it was a particular event or a series of events in their past that caused them to become very stressed. And the stress quickly turns into physical stress. So the emotional stress turns into physical stress. And then we just hold ourselves tight. And then we link the feeling of being stressed with the physical tension in our body. So a link is made between an emotional state and a physical state. And then what happens, the original things that cause the stress to enter into the system end. But the system has remembered this tension. So the person now just feels stressed all the time, but it's almost worse because they don't know why they're stressed, they just are, because the original things have gone, but the physical tension is still there, and that is 100% associated with making them feel stressed. Now, physiologically, what that does to the body is it affects the blood supply. Our blood supply relies on the muscles being supple so that the veins and the arteries which move through them can adequately help blood transport around the system with this squeezing motion or this peristaltic action of the arteries. Even the lymphatic drainage system gets affected, so we can't get as many toxins out of our systems if we are physically stressed. So that's one way. And actually also this kind of tension and stress is the origins of heart issues. One of the origins of heart issues. Now the other thing is we kind of do this when we get stressed. We tend to get physically stressed. The shoulders pull in, which then affects our ability to breathe, which means our system isn't being as oxygenated as well as it could be because we're not breathing as deep as we should be. Now, most people breathe from this area, but you've got to think about it coming from below your belly button. It's called the danjian or the hara in Japanese. So we've got to breathe deep to get the oxygen deep into the lungs. And then this oxygenates the blood, which then moves around the body and just refreshes everything, helps things work better, and just helps refresh the brain in many ways. The blood works better. We all know this. When the blood starts moving, we feel better. There's more oxygen. So now we can see a link, and I've spoken about this before, with our emotional state and our physical state. So this is another piece of information to add to the visual expression of our interaction with the world. So how can we use this information to change things? Well, the obvious answer, I guess, is to just really start to think about, again, your own posture. Do you feel stress in your shoulders now? Is your jaw tense? And just start to think about relaxing them. Think about breathing. Where are you breathing from? Is it here? Try to take it below your belly button. And just monitor this all the time. Also, when you feel yourself going inwards, look up, look around. Come out of the inner world, go into the world that you live in. I mean, sometimes we need to be here, sometimes we need to be here. I'd say most of the time we need to be out here, really, to have a good interaction with the world. You know, it's one life, it's one body. We've got to just enjoy both. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, that's easy to say, but how do we do it? So, I just happen to have a system. And what it is, when you feel yourself dropping into these positions or these deleterious, these circular patterns of behavior, these thoughts, because this physical state is a circular pattern of behavior, it's a physical expression of an emotional state. When you feel yourself dropping into this, here, you quite simply say to yourself, I'm doing it again. So what you're doing here is your primary thoughts are telling your subconscious, there's a problem here, this needs to change. And over time, it does. Because you don't really want to be thinking about it all the time. You really want to get your subconscious working for you. In the way that our autonomic nervous system, you know, we don't have to think about our heart beating, we don't need to think about breathing. The body just does it. We can program our subconscious to do this for us. So it's just think about, I'm doing it again. Now the correct posture, and probably the best description I've ever heard is like the spine is like a string of pearls stacked on each other. So it's not the center of the head, it's the back of the head. It's got to be straight. Now, in this modern world of computers, where we all look like vultures, head forwards like this, you've got to think about pulling it back up. If you're driving, turn the mirror up slightly high to make you sit up straighter. But the trick here is I'm doing it again. You have to program your subconscious to do the work for you. And eventually, when you're in this position, not only will you look better, will you have a better interaction, you'll basically start to leave behind these circular patterns of behavior that aren't that good. So you change a more negative circular pattern of behavior for a more positive circular pattern of behavior, which is to be much more aware of things, have a much better interaction with the world that we live in. And I think that's probably more than enough on this subject. As always, if you have any questions, you can message me. I'm quite easy to find. And to recap, our posture is an expression of our interaction and relationship with the world that we live in. So if we can change that to be a better posture, we can then have a better relationship with life. So, until the next time.